One of the things that makes WrestleMania truly special in my mind is the promise of the dream matchup, the big time matchup, the you've waited years for this, like it's Alpha A versus Alpha B type of stuff, right? The WrestleMania moment, if you will. Another thing about it is it can really be the ultimate place to springboard top guys into the stratosphere, if you will, to establish them and launch them forward. You saw this with Savage and Warrior and Brett and Shawn and Austin and Cena and Batista and Roman. Like the WrestleMania main event can be a critically important device in your storytelling, in your character development, in terms of establishing your path forward. And in the interest of fairness, somebody's going to say Cody. Fine, you put Cody in there. There's been 2 straight WrestleMania main events, right? So, really important. WrestleMania is the most important show in wrestling every year, period. Period. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But, again, this is one of these things where you can have opinions about different things, but not all opinions are valid. If you think Wrestler A is better than Wrestler B, and let's say you think Batista was better than John Cena, I agree. That's valid. If you think Cena was better than Batista, I don't agree, but it can be a valid point of view, right? But if you're going to sit there and tell me something like a Wrestle Kingdom or any AEW or any other WWE show measures up to WrestleMania, that's not a valid opinion. It just isn't, okay? But every once in a while, you get the promise of a dream matchup that can also help launch 2 top guys. And I feel like we're at a moment in time here where the WWE has that staring at him squarely in the face with Bron Breakker and Jacob Fatu. And I know they recently, have shown a little bit of a dynamic here where they're trying to plant the seed in the minds of the fans, and the fans are responding, but let me peel back from that for just a moment and talk about the top of the WWE in terms of the main event and title picture, if you will. It's not very young. Roman will be 40 in May. Cody will be 40 in June. Seth will be 39 in May. Gunther will be 38 in August. Drew will be 40 in June. Jey Uso will be, main event Jey will be 40 in August. Doesn't that make you feel old, right? Kevin Owens will be 41 in May. Sami Zayn will also be 41 in July. Damian Priest will be 43 in September. CM Punk will be 47 in October. AJ Styles will be 48 in June. Fuck saying the ages of all these wrestlers that I've watched for years, making me feel really old in my mid-40s right about now. And you could say, well, they've got several years left, perhaps, right? But you'd much rather have these guys all in their early 30s than their late 30s to already have crossed over the 40s threshold. Because at some point in time, the years of wear and tear and mileage on the body start to catch up. It's not to say they're done, but if you're sitting there, and unless you're a company that's really invested in launching and developing the young lions once they reach their peak of 50 plus years old, like somebody we know, you got to start thinking about the future. And while some feel that WWE is experiencing a bit of a hotter period, and this certainly is supported by some of the live event attendance numbers, right? I would argue that this is exactly the time that you have to be focusing on the future. You should be thinking about where you're going 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now, not so much about how you're surviving from one month to the next. And that is where enter Bron Breakker, who is only 27 years of age, and Jacob Fatu, who is only 32, come into the picture. And I think when you talk about main eventers in general, I've kind of modified it a little bit, but for those that have watched me for years, I've always had like a 5-tool scale for a main eventer, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to have all 5 of these tools in order to be a main eventer. It's just like in baseball when you think about, are they a 5-tool player? Can they hit? Can they run? Can they throw? Like, da-da-da-da-da. Do they hit for average, hit for power? Like, you could be a 3 or 4-tool player, but a couple of the tools that you do have could be super elite. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can compensate. But boy, if you've got all 5 of them, that's pretty special. So let's look at those 5 tools really quickly. Do Bron Breakker and Jacob Fatu have the physique? of a main eventer. Yes and yes. Bron's about 6 foot 250 or so. Jacob Fatu 6'2", maybe like 275, 280. They certainly pass that more traditional main event physique standard. Charisma? You tell me that these guys don't fucking have presence? Yeah, they've got plenty of charisma. Mic skills? Yes. At this stage of development of their career, they have enough mic skills to carry a program or a story. I would argue for both of them, it's kind of the weaker of the 5 tools, but they have enough of it, if you get my drift. They don't have it like they would just the overall charisma and the physique, but they have mic skills. They have enough. In-ring skills, certainly for both of them, right? Uniqueness, I would say yes and yes. Like Bron, when you look at his style, like nobody hits a spear like that. And some of the shit that Fatu's doing, holy hell. Yes and yes. The Tonga Kid's kid is fucking a beast, right? And Rick Steiner's kid is a fucking explosive freak. So yes, unique, both of them. My point is, both of these guys have the 5 tools in different levels of abundance, which means knock knock, who's there? Main event who? Get these 2 ready for the main event sooner rather than fucking later. That's who. A smart company would do everything that they could in the next 1 to 3 years to make this a reality. Absolutely. A smart company would do that. Now, we'll see just how smart Hunter is. Praise God. Oh, God. And let's see if he can see what's staring him in the fucking face. And let's see if he has the patience to do it. Because the possibilities of these two in a WrestleMania program, a WrestleMania run, very deep and potentially very rewarding. They have the size and physicality that older wrestling fans like myself can appreciate. They have the athleticism and movesets in the ring that younger wrestling fans and the more hardcore wrestling fans can mark out for. Like, it's rare in today's wrestling that you've got that in-ring style that can really appeal to pretty much everybody. Breaker and Fatu both have that. Both guys have deep family lineage that you can put into the equation. It adds one or multiple storytelling devices, storytelling layers that could be fascinating. You could build it as something like where wrestling's past has created wrestling's future. There's a fucking tagline if you need it. You know, it's the Steiners versus the fucking, you know, the Samoans. Like, you go on and on. The possibilities are endless here. They also really haven't touched yet in terms of a main roster standpoint, so it's a rare time of providing a unique matchup where if you build to it and you build to it, you could have people really foaming at the mouth and you can provide them a truly unique match and truly unique experience that they just haven't had very often. This is a feud where either guy could work heel or either guy could work babyface, or you say, fuck it, it doesn't really matter, and you just trot them out there and they end up being Jacob Fatu and Bron Breakker, and you let the crowd break however the fuck you want, and it's going to work just fine. Like, this is one of these so fucking obvious. If you don't do it, what in the bluest of blue fucks are you thinking? Ding dong, dumb dicks. This is the future money WrestleMania main event staring you in the fucking face. And now, as I referenced a little earlier, let's come back full circle. The WWE, they did it at the Royal Rumble where you had the shot of Fatu and Breaker, and it's like, oh, and then they didn't have him touch. And then apparently, I think it was on Raw. I could be wrong here, folks. I don't watch much of the current product, but I saw the clip, right, where Breaker and Fatu had a face-to-face, and you could sense the fucking crowd wanted this. Like, they were feeling it. They knew. That's the cue. That's where it tells you the fans want this. I understand there's going to be a lot of temptation to try and rush this at WrestleMania, especially on a match card like WrestleMania 41, where it probably needs this type of attraction, right? You've already teased it a couple of times. You can tell the crowd really wants it. And just because you do it once here at WrestleMania this year doesn't mean that you couldn't come back to it in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. I get all of that. While the future is unknown, I say go in a different direction. Roll the dice and build this thing up for another year. Slowly build this up. Be patient. Just because you can go with it now And it would work now. Doesn't mean it will carry the same gravitas in a year or two if you come back to it and you've already given it to the fans in some degree. Especially when you think about wrestling in its current environment with the fan base that's very short in terms of the attention span. You know, this is actually a challenge here to make you care about both of these characters for an extended period of time. And you could do that if you strategically do this and you build up to it very slowly, like all the way through next year. Like, I don't care how you get there. Vacate the title. Breaker goes in as the champion, or probably even better, Fatu wins the belt at the Rumble, and he goes on and he defends against Breaker at Mania. However the fuck you gotta get there. This has to be a WrestleMania main event. I can't imagine anybody looking at this and not being able to see it. And I've been tweeting about this for months, and I know other people have been talking about this for a while. Like, it is so freaking obvious. So obvious. And like, I'll make some bold statements and claims, and sometimes it's to get a reaction, sometimes it's to make a point, but sometimes it's because it's fucking true, right? And this is one of these times. Like, you need younger talent in your main event scene. You should not be looking at WrestleMania 42 and 43 to try and squeeze the blood out of the turnip from a bunch of guys that are on the wrong side of 40. You should be looking at WrestleMania 42, WrestleMania 43 as a way that you could put guys like Breaker and Fatu at the top of the pecking order, and you can have them be foundational pieces for your company for the next 7 to 10 damn years. That's where the focus has to be. Don't put your eggs all in the Roman and Cody and Seth and Jay buckets, because you're inevitably going to be left disappointed and you're never going to get the return that you anticipate. Like, life goes on, wrestling keeps going on, and it's rare that you've got an opportunity with two young guys that are as over as they are and can be, that you could position them to be WrestleMania main eventers against each other. And you got that here, WWE. I beg you, I implore you, I plead with you, as tempting as it could be to go to this match this year, don't wait. Instead, invest the next year into what you should do, which is into making this the featured attraction, the main event of WrestleMania 42.